one of horror's most notorious as well as symbolic staples. Zombies. The living dead. On one hand, they are a fantastic combination of some of horror's most perfect ingredients. The dead rising, flesh eaters, often in swarms, often relentless, and a threat that the more they kill, the more they multiply, increasing the horde and decreasing the number of survivors that can band together. On the other hand, they are a perfect symbol for social commentary. A metaphor for the woes of human behavior and the downfall of society and the horrors that we often face in the real world. And to think the entire subgenre of zombies as we know them today were made possible by one single movie. Night of the Living Dead. Director George A. Romero's 1968 masterpiece. The film that an entire subgenre of horror can never escape the shadow of.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Stop it!
A film that was so far ahead of its time that we have only recently began to catch up. And still, all other takes on the subject matter are really doing is paying homage to Romero's classic.
Chief, if I were surrounded by 6 or 8 of these things, would I stand a chance with them?
Well, there's no problem. If you had a gun, shoot him in the head. That's a sure way to kill him. If you don't, get yourself a club or a torch. Beat him or burn him. They go up pretty easy.
This is one film that falls into the rare category of not being able to be praised enough. It laid the blueprint for how the entire concept, from beginning to end, of how the threat of zombies works.
Look! There comes one of them now!
And it has been followed ever since. No matter how far you try and stray, adapt, change, retell, odds are, you will be compared to this film. And rather intentional or not, you will wear this film's inspiration on your blood-soaked sleeve. In 1968, there was nothing like Night of the Living Dead. Before it, zombies were more something akin to spells and fantasy or hypnosis. Night of the Living Dead created the zombie that we fear today, as the stalking, flesh-eating, swarming creature that can outnumber the living and force you to sleep with one eye open. Boarded windows, counting ammunition, seeking shelter,
Cellar's the safest place.
not making noise, survival of the fittest, and of course, being wary of the bite.
One of those things grabbed her.
Bit her on the arm.
All are trademarks of the genre to this day. Night of the Living Dead didn't just do wonders for the zombie genre though. It is much more than that. Night of the Living Dead was a gift to film as an entire medium, and a game changer that is still highly in effect to this day. A small group of filmmakers and actors created this low-budget independent film, and this 1968 opus, largely in part to Romero's brilliance, passion, and courage to stay the course of making the movie he wanted. Night of the Living Dead would prove itself among the most important movies ever made. Being made on a budget of around $114,000, it earned approximately around $30 million at the box office, all before it would carry the legacy that it has been donned since. It paved the way for horror to be more than the mere sum of its body parts, and lent a hand for independent filmmaking, low-budget filmmaking, social commentary films, the use of non-conventional ways to tell stories, and showed studios that they were not in control of what audiences out there wanted.
You're crazy!
Night of the Living Dead had bite. It shocked. It terrified. It provoked. It was original. It was bold. And it couldn't care less whether you had a good time or not. This film had guts. In 1968, it starred Dwayne Jones,
Gotta fix these boards.
an unknown African-American actor, as its lead and voice of reason.
Those things are going to be at every window and door in this place. We've got to get down into the cellar.
Go down in that damn cellar. Get out of here!
I'm taking the girl with me.
You leave her here. Keep your hands off her. And everything else that's up here, too. Because if I stay up here, I'm fighting for everything up here. And the radio and the food is part of what I'm fighting for. Now, if you're going down the cellar, get!
An absolutely courageous decision in more ways than one. It co-starred Judith O'Dea, whose portrayal was a realistic mix of terrified and often useless as a help to the others trapped in the situation of facing the undead.
This pump out here is locked. Is there a key? We can try to get out here if we can get some gas. Is there a key?
She, however, is not a damsel in distress, but more used to represent the average viewer in the audience had they been placed suddenly into such a confusing situation. That almost seems unfair how suddenly it all came upon them.
I don't know what's happening.
The film was gory, bleak, stubbornly unwilling to provide us with all our answers.
Are not the results of mass hysteria.
Mass hysteria. What do they think? We're imagining all this? Shut up!
An entire world of monsters is increasing in numbers around us, and the film keeps us bound in a house mostly left to only imagine what must be going on outside.
I looked back at the diner to see if there was anyone there who could help me. That's when I noticed that the entire place had been encircled.
Creating a sense of claustrophobia, mystery, and a rising tension amongst our survivors and all their differences.
We may not enjoy living together, but dying together isn't going to solve anything. Those people aren't our enemies.
George A. Romero understood how to use his limited budget and limited setting to fantastic effect, an experience whose simplicity actually increases the fear factor. It makes you feel a little more like everything is plausible and
Examine
really
the bodies of
happening.
some of the victims. Medical authorities in Cumberland have concluded that in all cases, the killers are eating the flesh of the people they murdered.
What little information they can gather is through one radio and one TV, as well as each other's own personal accounts of how they have survived this long.
And I said, goody. And he grabbed me. He grabbed me.
All three are highly effective, atmospheric, and make the situation feel relatable in a way that still feels relevant today. The dialogue is well written, and you will often find the characters saying exactly what you were thinking, showing how in tune the film is with making the situation feel believable.
We thought we could hear screams, but for all we knew, that could have meant those things were in the house afterward.
And you wouldn't come up and help.
Well, if there were more. The racket sounded like the place was being ripped apart. How were we supposed to know what was going on?
Now, wait a minute. You just got finished saying you couldn't hear from down there. Now you say it sounded like the place was being ripped apart. It would be nice if you get your story straight, man.
The film remains eerie from frame one and never lets up its slow burn towards what seems like a bleak and inevitable ending for everyone. Bringing us to tonight's scene. This is a heavy spoiler warning though. This movie was a real struggle to choose a scene from, as there is one great and genre-defining moment after another. But the scene I ultimately am going to reveal is actually the very ending. So if you have yet to see this film, but would like it to remain a surprise, I suggest not watching any further.
Survival Command Center at the Pentagon has disclosed that a ghoul can be killed by a shot in the head.
Otherwise, for those who still dwell among us, the night has become morning, and only one still remains alive. Nearby, the media is covering the story, following the chief of police and a militia of survivors who are voluntarily traveling together to hunt and eliminate the walking dead. They discover the moving corpses must be shot in the head and then buried. During their travels, they come across the house that our characters were holed up
We want to get
in.
about 4 or 5 men and a couple dogs. There's a house over here behind those trees. We want to go check it out.
And then,
He's the dead one. Get up here. Nick, Tony, Steve, you want to get out in that field and build me a bonfire? You, drag that out of here and throw it on the fire.
Nothing down here.
All right, go ahead down and give him a hand. Let's go check out the house, man.
There's something there. I heard a noise.
All right, Vince, hit him in the head, right between the eyes. Good shot. Okay, he's dead. Let's go get him. That's another one for the fire.
this ending was the bravest of all endings. From the moment it begins, it is filled with hope and a promising look that this nightmare actually may have an ending in sight. But the better part of paranoia and misunderstanding of such an intense and unforeseeable situation leads to a mistake being made that depletes all hope, at least within the confines of the story we are given out of the movie. No one even realizes what they have done. Ben has died in vain after spending the entire night before fighting for his life by the very men that should have been rescuing him. I cannot blame anyone for not enjoying this ending, but for me, it is an example of what the horror genre is capable of and stands for. In great horror, nothing is sacred. No one is safe. And this is something one must choose if it is for them or not. George A. Romero was approached by a major studio who offered to buy the film from him if he would change this ending, and he wisely and bravely refused. This integrity that Romero expressed is what true artistry is all about, and horror films, for all their schlock and by the numbers formula they can be known for, can at times show great artistry. Great horror is a boundary-pushing, bold and inventive genre that often peels back surfaces to show us beauty is only skin deep, and that beneath everything there can be something truly darker and more frightening. This is something I love about the genre, and to do this in 1968 and even follow with these unsettling, almost crime photo-looking stills of the men collecting Ben's body for the fire only further twists the knife, almost as if confirming to us, you will find no happy ending here. The zombie genre is perfect for such a depressing and unforgiving outlook on situations, and always has been since day one, proven by a filmmaker with unshakable vision, and a film that will never, ever be permanently put into the grave. There is not enough I can say about this one. It is easily a film I can watch and be fascinated by again and again. A movie that has all the necessary ingredients for a perfect rainy night at home with a bag of popcorn, as well as a film that can sink its teeth into you and not let go long after the film has ended, and you are left